Hello everyone, this is Amr Al-Najm, the manager of Al Gallery. Thank you for taking the time to join us in this panel discussion, and hope you enjoy it, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Omar. Welcome everyone to this book presentation and discussion on the ARAK collection. Just a few preliminary words before we start. Firstly, I want to thank Ghanim and Al Gallery for welcoming us and hosting this event, as well as the Skira corner at the entrance of the gallery with a selection of books published by Skira, the publisher I work for. I'm Edoardo Ghizzoni. I'm head of new business in Skira, the arts publisher from Milan, and we had the absolute pleasure to work with Rahman on the book about his collection, which is just here behind me, and that you will all be able to look at and admire after the talk. African art from the ARAK collection offers a rare and authoritative framework for understanding contemporary African art on its own terms. It brings together works by more than 100 artists from the collection and situates them within themes of abstraction, portraiture, and place, providing readers with a very, coherent and dynamic vision of Africa's artistic production. It's more than just a catalog. It's a publication which positions African art at the center of global cultural discourse, highlighting the collection's role as a major cultural interface and underscoring why African artists are increasingly shaping the direction of contemporary art worldwide. We are joined here today by Neelima Jeychandran. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Perfect. Neelima is assistant professor of African visual culture at VCU Arts, Qatar. Her research focuses on visual culture, material heritage, memory, and the legacies of slavery and trade across the Indian Ocean, Africa, and South Asia. We are also joined directly opposite me by Thembinkosi Goniwe, artist and art historian whose work engages contemporary African art, post-colonial critique, and Black radical thought. And last but not least, by Abdul Rahman AlKhelaifi. I definitely did not pronounce your name correctly. As many of you know, Qatari private collector with a collection of over 3,000 African artworks. Through the ARAK collection, he supports artists, curators, and writers while advancing education and exhibitions on African art. He began the collection in 2017 and has built it through sustained engagement with artists and international art fairs. Just for the record, we only have one microphone, so we'll be passing it around. I want to begin, and we keep the talk to maximum half an hour. I want to begin with a question for you, Rahman. The ARAK collection, very consciously resists treating artworks as commodities. Can you tell us how that principle actually plays out while you're collecting or in the process of collecting?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Edoardo. Thank you to Neelima and Thembi for joining us this conversation, and thank you everyone to attend today. Thank you for Al-Hosh for hosting us. This question remind me when I start collecting African contemporary art. I've been looking at art for a longer time, but the concept behind our collection that we try to give back to the continent, give away. So that's mean when we buying art from emerging contemporary artists from the continent, we reinvest back on educational. So we do a lot of knowledge transfer by doing a fellowship program, by doing an art writing workshop where education, we try to support art writer in the continent, and a publication like the one we do with the Skira at the moment, and the others, which we have more than 11 have been published already in so far. So it is really a journey that we have looked at it as a practice where we believe that emerging artists need to be recognized, need to be known, need to be introduced internationally.
Thank you, Rahman. And you've often said the collection doesn't chase big names or market trends. What does that freedom allow you to see or to support that might otherwise be overlooked? Sorry.
Yes, Edoardo. We don't believe on trading. So for example, we today we have more than 5,000 artworks. We haven't sold any. So the principle of us that we not buy and sell art. We collect to sustain, to give the artist the stability of being a full-time artist, and support him, and give the chance the curator to look into to go deep into our collection, to brought these pieces out in an exhibition or in a publication or in a African ARAK collection book. So mainly we try to support giving back. I believe that the major player or the artist who is well known, that's have been taken care of by a major galleries, by a major collector. They have got the chance of being well known. I believe that the other ones who have been unknown, where I have been digging and visiting each and every studios I have done for the last 9.5 years, where I believe that they worth the investment to recognize them and to give them the confidence that they are doing a great job. Mr. Neelima, I think.
Neelima, I have a follow-up question for you. Based on what Rahman was just saying about his process of collecting, how do you think this process maybe changes the way African art is framed in academia or academic institutions?
Well, thank you, Edoardo, and thank you, Skira team, but thank you all for coming for a conversation about African art. We are really thrilled to have you. But I also want to give a shout out to AlHoj, who kind of organizes all kinds of dynamic programs. So thank you to Ghanem and his team. So to answer your question, it is very important to have a very plural ecosystem in the art market itself, so that the art is accessible to a whole range of people. When collecting is given a certain kind of primacy, it means that it is basically inaccessible to academia, to students, and to, of course, practitioners, young practitioners of art. When you look at the repositories of art, of course you have the museums, then you have institutions, private collections, which again are institutionalized, from Getty to Menil collections in the United States, But then something like ARAK collection, it serves that interstitial space or that middle ground, because the good thing about ARAK collection is it is very public. So I know that because I take my class, my students go there, and it is incorporated into our learning and curriculum. And it's not just me. I have colleagues from Georgetown and my own colleague, Holiday Powers, sitting there. She had curated an exhibition with the ARAK collection. So it is important to have that kind of plural artistic practices in which, of course, there is a collection, but the way that the repository itself become a public-facing entity.
Rahman, back to you one moment. Obviously, as you were saying, one of your a characteristic of the way you collect is direct engagement with the artists. So you frequently visit their studios. Can you maybe share with us an anecdote, a moment when that kind of close proximity really changed your understanding of an artist's work or his or her practice?
True. We try to understand why the artist have made this piece. What's the story behind it? Why is he putting this kind of effort to produce such piece? So usually the artist have explain and give us the chance to understand his journey of his practice from since his beginning until he reached today. So as you know, all that artist has gone into different levels of structuring his practice as an artist. So definitely, for example, when I go to August House in Joburg, we meet a lot of artists, or go to Cape Town, or go to, for example, to Nairobi. Not only that, but Kampala, Windhoek in Namibia, Harare in Zimbabwe. So it is really a journey that we know the people, we listen to them carefully. We spend 40, 50, an hour. Sometimes the journey takes us 2 hour drive to go to an artist and go back to home, to the hotel late evening. So it's really important for artists to see the artist, ask the question, answering what he has in mind, and try to explore the journey he has. I believe it's an interesting moment that I learn a lot of it, and it make me more joy of having this kind of pieces.
Thembinkosi, it's your turn now. So bouncing off what Rahman was just explaining, how do you think this kind of close proximity to an artist and their works, how important is that from a curatorial point of view? You are a curator. I'm curious to know what your point of view about that is.
Thank you. Just want to greet everyone and thank you for having me here. That's a good question. Let me think it this way. Intimate relations are always productive between the artist and the curator, the artist and the writer, artists and their audience, for a number of reasons, three of which are: one, you start to learn, you start to listen, you start to discover things that otherwise you won't if you don't have that relations of talking. Another one is that also artists open up and create paths where you can travel. Because looking at artworks without the artist as a mediator, you might not only miss things, you might even distort some of the thoughts. And thirdly, there are those accidents during those conversations. Curatorially, I take this intimate relation as a way of not curating for, but curating with the artist. So it's a form of a dialogue. And I think dialogue are productive in any sphere.
Neelima, so one characteristic of the book, or rather I should say the collection, is that it really resists rigid categories like abstraction versus figuration. Why do you think letting go of those labels can matter so much in the context of African art?
In the context of African art, it is very important to either resist or probably push back against categorizations. And with that, I would say all sorts of categorizations, right? 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, built forms and things like that. Many times you would see that an African mask is not just a mask, it is also a masquerade. So it has a certain kind of performative function too. And when we are talking about contemporary arts here, again, the categorization, as you said, abstractions or portraitures doesn't really work when we are talking about abstract African arts, right, or arts of the African diaspora, because you would see at times artists bringing in different motives, but also, again, different kinds of forms and formats. So, and it applies broadly, not just exclusively to contemporary African art, but also broadly to African arts itself. And I'm pretty sure my friends who teach African arts would totally agree with me.
And a question that connects with this one. The book is edited by Ashraf Jamal, and in his essay, he talks about a deep diversity characterizing characterizing the continent as opposed to a single African narrative. How do you let's say, I think you agree with this notion, and how do you see it? How do you see this idea reshaping how African art is discussed or taught today?
Well, I cannot specifically speak for Ashraf Jamal, but I guess what he was trying to say with diversity is probably hinting at how plural African arts is. And the plurality doesn't just speak about the way that artists are showcasing their practice, but also the way African artists are experimenting with medium and materiality. So you would see African artists kind of using a whole range of canvases to create their artworks, from bark cloth to upcycled rags and things like that. But also when you're looking at the materialities that they're trying to create, the imprint, from dyeing to pigments to all that, has been the very history of African arts, right? And so we see that kind of diversity starting from very basic materials, then extending to the canvas, but also the way the arts of the continent has shaped. Different schools have different kinds of orientations, but they were also responding to certain kind of the new democratic aspirations of certain countries. So from Makerere to Kwame Nkrumah University Kunst, they all had different orientations, and they were trying to tell a larger story of Pan-Africanism. So we have to keep in mind, while there is a diversity, there was a general sense of Pan-Africanism that was trying to come through African arts.
Thank you, Neelima. Thembinkosi, back to you. How can collections, do you think, how can they engage with Black portraiture without falling into fetishization or over-symbolism? And where do you see the biggest risks today in that?
That's a deep, deep question. And to do justice in responding, can I ask a favor, perhaps, to just unpack the two words, what you mean by fetishization and over-symbolism, so that I can have a sense where you're coming from. Then I'll build my response to that. Thank you.
Give your thoughts, he said. Give your thoughts.
The word fetish is not as easy as to think in relation to collection. That's why I'm avoiding a risk to speak to something that might contradict a possibility of a productive answer or response. So in other words, I don't want to create a discourse whereby I'll lead people astray. Hence, the question usually comes from somewhere. Not because it only has a motive, but also it asks us to address a certain premise. So it is that premise I'm interested in. Precisely because these words, in the context of Africa, they are so loaded, and also they have lots of problems that some of us have been wrestling with over the years. So hence, you're not only guarded, but you're also critical in the way in which you respond. I'm not trying to be dancing around it. Thanks.
You have to understand, Thembinkosi, that you're much smarter than me. So any answer you give will be illuminating. in some way or the other. I have another question for you. Please don't ask me to unpack it. So the book suggests that restoring a sense of normalcy to African life can be a radical act. Why do you think that idea is so powerful and so rare?
No, you're dancing with me again. You like these words, normalcy. You know, you're reminding me, in fact, in one of Chika Okeke Ogula's essays, he opens that essay with saying something to the effect that Africa never enjoys a sense of normality. It's always implicated in this anomaly. I'm saying this because some of us are trying to work away and around thinking of Africa from the negative. When you're saying normalcy, it means there's a sense of abnormality about Africa. Whether you trace it from Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, and many others. As I said, I'm not here to wrestle with discourse, but these things are very important so that we just clear the grounds. There's nothing abnormal or that needs normalcy in Africa. Africa is in any other continent, any other place. It is normal as Europe is normal, as this Arabic continent is normal. Same thing when we talk about African art, we need to move away from thinking from this problematic concept as a starting point. Because what they do, they arrest and condition the subsequent discussion. So by the time we arrive at the real thing, we're already exhausted by clearing these terms. So what I'm trying to say is, perhaps we should be asking what it is beautiful about African art that we need to think about. What does it offer, perhaps that it has not been looked at, it has not been appreciated. Earlier, you talk about diversity. Neelima talked about plurality, all these multi-layers of Africa. There's also something that African artists do in very interesting way. They innovate, they invent, they discover, they create worlds in which they shift the way we see ourselves. And it is that beauty that we should be tried to be investing in. The kind of aesthetic inquiries, aesthetic pleasures and offering that they are giving the world to think about. Let me give one example. If you watch soccer, for example, have you seen what they do in the pitch? But most people spend time talking about their poverty. These guys come from dreadful places, but when they're on the pitch, they make that football look so beautiful. If you take the same analog or analogy, think about African art. So you suspend sometimes, not to say there are no problems on the continent, as I said anyway, but to start to ask, what are these players giving? They give pleasure to the audience that watches them. Similar in a way that when we go to exhibition, and I'm sure all the exhibition will be saying that have African artists and other artists, they are going to offer something beautiful. Give us a temporary relief out of and from a world that is so dreadful. It's existing. So it is that some of us are interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Thembinkosi. And just leading from that, Rahman, as the collector here, what do you consciously think about when you collect? Or is it more an intuitive process? We have thrown about a few words like normalcy, plurality, diversity. What do you consciously think about, or not at all?
Thank you, Edoardo. I really go into what I like, first of all. So my tastes have grown by time, more seeing art and more enjoying it. So I'll give you an example. Today, if I don't go to the collection and seeing the art, my day would be a bit darker. So I really enjoy every day seeing the pieces around me and seeing the piece every day differently. So I try to buy what I believe that's a real a real enjoyment for me, for example. Why is that? Because I like what our friend in Europe, in the States, when they say art is an S class. Assets is always in the bank, in the stock market, on the safe box. But art, that's something you will live with it. If you don't enjoy it, you don't like it, you can't keep it at your walls at home, or you see it in the racks and collection. So I really like what I buy. So I really enjoy, and I feel that each piece has a story to tell. An artist have told me a story, and it continue to grow the career of that artist. And I believe that it's worth every penny I have put in.
I have two more questions, and it's back to you, Rahman. You have a fellowship program which is central to your mission, and I want to know how supporting young art writers and curators, not only artists, how that contributes to a healthier and more sustainable ecosystem, we could say.
Thank you for this question, Edoardo. I believe this is an important pillar ARAK Collection is doing a fellowship program. Fellowship program is centered on a model we're doing. It's a triangle where we do an open call, we're buying emerging artists, calling emerging mid-career writer, and they close it with a publication. So we are in the 5th round of our fellowship program. We just announced the 6th round open call, where we had 13 curators and 3 art writers. I believe this is an important pillar for any collector or foundation or art center or museum to continue support the art scene in Africa. Africa requires this kind of support, because this will encourage artists, art writer, curator to grow their career by attending a fellowship program, either online or physically, and all over the world. So our fellowship is 6 months, where the curator or the art director will come to Doha, and he will look at the collection. He will stay from morning till 2 o'clock. After that, we will take him a tour between art center and museums around Doha. So he will have 2 exposure: one, look at the collection, and we will do his research. Second, he will see the infrastructure of what government of Qatar have made, and the Qatar Museum have made a huge investment on an important infrastructure like Museum of Islamic Art, the Qatar Museum, Madhaf, and fire station and others, where they will learn new things at their career, and they will go and they will talk about it, and they will keep it in the back of their mind, that they will grow their career against it. Second, if you allow me, that we starting in 24 and art writing workshop, where we believe that will enhance the art writing practice in the continent. We done 5 so far: Windhoek, Namibia, Johannesburg, Kampala in Uganda, and this last year we done with Tembi, Lusaka in Zambia, and Harare at National Gallery of Zimbabwe. And that model we have each art writer has 10 to 12 participants. So far we trained more than 70 art writers, and our editor Loco commissioned them back to do an interview with artists. So we brought the artist's voice, or an article had been written by an art writer where an art writer voice will go up, and we commissioned to do a monograph on us, which we plan to do a couple of monographs in the coming future. Third, but not last, the most important pillar, I believe, is the publication. So publication that will bring the documenting the journey of the artist, the journey of the writer, the journey of the curator, and that will put them internationally, and the search engine that will this is the most important objective, that we introduce the artist and the curator and the professionals internationally.
Last question, and I would like each of you to answer briefly. We can start with Neelima, then Thembinkosi, and then back to Rahman. If this book is a starting point rather than a conclusion, what questions do you hope readers and institutions will continue to ask after engaging with it?
First of all, I would like to say that, the very discipline of African art itself is a very nascent discipline. It doesn't have a long history. It's barely 3 decades old. And writing a book from here, from the global south, is very important. Most often, conversation or pedagogical structuring about African art has happened either in North America or Europe. So it is very important to have an intellectual practice from the global south that is thinking about the continent, from the continent, because most of the writers are from the continent, so that we kind of rearranges the narrative, right? But by rearranging the narrative, we also are trying to rearrange the centers. So I would see this as a moment in which we are trying to shift some histories, but also a pedagogical narrative.
Thank you. Neelima has said it well. Let me try and find a different way to come in. One of the important things about publications, they serve for those of us who teach as well. And it has been challenging over the years to teach, especially undergraduate students, without literature. So this book contributes to that literature. One. Secondly, it also serves as a catalyst for other projects that might follow after. For one thing, things you've mentioned, for example, Ashraf spend time on abstract and figurative and portraiture. There are also other either genres or either focus on medium or time periods or moment or movements. So one hopes that subsequent books will begin also to be specific by themes, to be specific also either by subject, and they might as well trace certain histories for both, as I said, educational purposes, but also for general public.
I believe African Art ARAK collection is a start, not for ARAK collection, but for the general audience. For Skira, for example, for publisher, for people need to think about producing publication on African art. Africa is a 54 country, and I believe they deserve every word, every paper, every publication that we have to invest to grow this particular art ecosystem in the coming years, inshallah.
Thank you. Yes, please clap. Obviously, Rahman, I'm counting on you to do one book per artist with me. So I mean, as the publisher, I didn't say much about Skira, but we take great pride in the books we do, which are all characterized by excellence in quality and in production standards. And you know, as Neelima and Thembinkosi were saying, it's important to give voice to people who actually know the subject and speak from within it. And this is something that I feel we did successfully with Rahman, and that generally is a guiding line of Skira's production, to try to give back a voice and allow people to narrate with knowledge and with experience. I really would like to thank you all for being here. It's so wonderful to see so many of you, and please do browse through the book, which is here behind me. Ask any questions you want. In fact, now we leave, if anyone has questions, don't make them too complicated for me, but we have great speakers who can answer, and so please, if there's anyone who would like to ask, we're happy to take questions. Yes, great. We have to do a bit of back and forth.
Good afternoon, Assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much for this very interesting panel. A question to Mr. Rahman. When you started this collection, and this seems to be very generous, so thank you for this, thank you for the African art, and thank you for the art overall. How do you think this collection has potentially changed the perception of African contemporary art in Qatar and globally? What do you think, how the perception has changed? This is one question. And second question is, if you have been to Sierra Leone, if you have not been, I'm personally inviting you because you have to visit West Africa as well, where I'm based.
The art scene, she said. Definitely, the art scene is start to be changed. I'll give you an example of last night opening. We had a great exhibition with our friend from Ghana, where they brought a couple of artists. Halima is here, the amazing artist. Hassan is here, Arto and Bernard, and they loaned 4 artists from the collection, so 8 pieces, and they created an amazing exhibition at Liwan. That's changing the art scene in Doha, definitely. Dr. Hurdy Power behind you has brought her class in the collection, and the students have picked a couple of artists from South Africa, and they show it at VCU. We visit the VCU a couple of times with our guest curator and scholars. Dr. Neelima here in my right hand, she came to the collection a couple of times with her students, and there is a lot of engagement with the class. Georgetown, they have done last month a major exhibition on mobility, and they loaned more than 33 pieces. Definitely, let me tell you this: Africa is part of the world, and every piece is really make a lot of sense to me as a collector. But no, it is for the art scene internationally. I believe they deserve, as I said before, every effort that need to be seen. I think it's worth to visit and look at them. You will be amazed, and you will definitely change your mind of collecting African contemporary art. I haven't visited Sierra Leone so far, but I believe West Africa will come soon. I believe Dakar is coming in November, and we're supposed to be there.
Any other questions?
That showing the collection, and we have the same collection.
Thank you. The collection will be open from tomorrow till the end of Art Basel. Definitely by appointment, but Ghada Shuli is always welcome with her guests to come to visit us. Definitely, we having part of our mission. Edoardo, if you allow me here to come, we the landlord have give us the space to install and to view some of our pieces. I'm not saying a secret, but tomorrow people will come and visit us. We highlighting Namibian contemporary art at ARAK collection. Why Namibia? Why Windhoek, for example? I visited Windhoek in 23 and 24. The art scene is amazing, but there is no ecosystem. I believe this is a part of our mission, ARAK collection, to try to support this art scene and to show, since we have too many international collector and people who are passionate about art, to see what Namibia is. And I believe even in our show at Liwan, there is an artist from Namibia. So please, if anyone want to visit us, we are open to welcome everyone.
Thank you then. No more questions? Last call? No more questions? Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Neelima, Rahman, Thembinkosi. Ghanim, Al-Hosh Gallery, Ghanim and Omar. And enjoy the book, enjoy our speakers, and enjoy your evening and this exhibition curated by Mariam Al-Thani. Thank you again. Bye-bye.